All right. Here we are, episode, I think, 7 of Little Life, Big Loss. And today I am joined by Chris, who, again, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, you know that I don't usually know a whole lot about my people, and I deliberately do that so that when I'm listening to their story, I can genuinely ask questions. And I'm so intrigued by everyone's story, but I know Chris is doing incredible things in the world of baby loss. And after all of the experiences he and his wife have been through, there's a lot of things he's involved with. So we connected on a Facebook group not too long ago, only actually a couple of days ago. And Chris said he was keen to be on the podcast. So I said, let's do it now. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Chris. I know it's this is such a vulnerable space, and some people are super open to talking about these things and some people are not. And so I thank you for that. I don't take it for granted. But I want to start by asking, who is Chris and who were you before baby loss?
Yeah. All right. Firstly, thanks for the opportunity, Rochelle. Any opportunity that I get to tell our story and scream Liam's name from the rooftop, I'll take, and I feel it's very important. Especially for men as well. So I'll start. I would say that I was probably an average guy. I've always it's always been a case of work to live, not live to work for me, and really all I wanted to do in life was just be a good father, and husband, and just yeah. And so my wife and I got married in 2015. We're going on eight years in a couple of weeks, and we didn't start trying straight away. We got married on my 27th birthday. So, still relatively young, I guess. And yeah, we've had probably about 5 to 6 year fertility struggles. We had a miscarriage after 11 months trying to conceive. At the time, that was pretty brutal. We were about 9 weeks. My wife miscarried in the shower. She's having a bit of cramping and a bit of bleeding, and it was around Easter time actually. And we went into the hospital on the Sunday, just into the emergency room at Royal Brisbane, and we were basically we were told there's no heartbeat, and went from there. We were meant to go in for a D&C on the Monday or the Tuesday. The phone call didn't come, and then on the Wednesday night, Beth miscarried in the shower. It was horrendous, and then we gave it a break for a little while after that, and dealt with the grief and everything that comes from that time, and then started. Long story short, started trying again. With no
So did
luck.
the hospital didn't call you back for the D&C?
No, they didn't call.
Wow.
We're waiting by the phone on the Monday, waiting by the phone on the Tuesday. Nothing happened, and then I don't know. I guess it was kind of like labour pains, and I was literally standing on the other side of the glass, while Beth was explaining the pain going from like a mid sort of, like mid uterus region down, and then, this huge, sorry to be graphic, but this huge, process of blood.
Gush of blood, yeah.
And the sac just passing through in the shower and literally down the drain. So yeah, we were really pissed off. We were really, shitty with the world after that. And
and because people don't give enough credit for a miscarriage that's early, and I remember when we lost our first one at 6 weeks, and I remember passing what it was, and it's like you don't realize that it's still something,
exactly.
whether it's in the toilet or it goes down the drain or whatever it is, you see it. There's a life there, it's awful.
And I think from just going to the dating scan and seeing the heartbeat, hearing the heartbeat on the monitor, and just the clearness of the like the gudu, gudu, like
Mm-hmm.
it's an incredible experience. And
Yeah.
from a male perspective, because I don't have the physical feelings of everything, it's difficult to explain. But yeah, when I'm seeing, my wife on the other side of a glass door, just in immense pain, like physical pain, like it's the worst. Up until that point, it was one of the worst things that I've been through. My
Mm.
dad died in 2013, and other than that, it was in our situation, we literally watched our dreams and our
Mm.
baby and our pregnancy go down the drain. And yeah, it's words, you can't put it into words.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, a couple more years kind of passed, maybe 24 months passed. No luck naturally. And then we had two failed rounds of IUI.
Yeah.
Went and saw a fertility specialist, and we saw her for a good few years. Um, yeah, two rounds of IUI, unsuccessful. And then in Feb 2020, just before COVID, um, we had one unsuccessful round of IVF. Um, and yeah, yeah, I'm just trying to think of the timeline.
Mm.
Yeah, so
And
we
at this
had,
point, had they said why? Like, so this is,
well,
four unsuccessful pregnancies, essentially.
yeah, not really. Like there was nothing sort of super pinpoint, which was a bit more frustrating, I guess. Like um, my sperm quality was fine, and Beth's egg quality was fine, and it was a case of, oh, you're still young, just
Mm.
blah blah blah. These things take time. Try not to think about it.
Mm.
All that sort
Mm.
of stuff. And anyone that's
Mm.
been through fertility issues knows that it's not as straightforward of just,
Don't
oh,
think
just,
about it.
yeah, don't think about
Mm.
it. It'll happen when it's ready and all that.
Ugh.
Like
Yeah.
that sort of stuff just really grinds my gears. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we went away, and we didn't go away. We actually opened a coffee shop in the March 2020, and yeah, and
March 2020.
yeah, literally
Yeah.
our first day of trade was the first day of the takeaway restrictions.
Oh.
So it was the 23rd, Monday, the 23rd of March,
Yeah.
2020. And yeah, so that, mentally that took up a lot of distraction for me, because I worked in it, 7 days a week for the first, six months type thing. And then we went through the process of, IVF again, and did another round in the July 20 July 2021. So it was almost a bit over a year sort of period of just doing nothing, just, chilling out really.
Mm.
And we got two embryos out of that. And the first embryo didn't take. Um, and then the second embryo was Liam, our neonatal death, and or our son. Sorry, I shouldn't call him a neonatal death. Our
Mm.
son.
Mm.
And we fell pregnant end of 2021. Yeah, we did the second round. Sorry, in December 2021, and fell pregnant with twins. Yeah, so
So
fell
your
pregnant
twin
with.
pregnancy was different to your pregnancy with Liam?
No, that was
That was
his.
Liam. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Liam's pregnancy. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we went through Christmas. Kept things on the lowdown. Just told our immediate family and stuff. and then in the mid-January we miscarried the first twin at about that 8-9 week period again, or it might have been
Mm-hmm.
a little bit before, maybe around 7 weeks. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then miscarried in January, and because his embryo was fine and untouched, it progressed
Wow.
normally, and the
And so was it a double implantation of two embryos, or
no,
was it
no, it
one
was
that
just,
split?
it was one that split. Well,
Okay.
we don't know exactly. Like, it was either a spontaneous pregnancy in the same
Wow.
cycle, or it split.
Yeah.
Um, Apparently, it's pretty common in IVF pregnancies that they split, but
Yeah.
there was no definite sort of proof. We were
Okay.
still sexually active. Not that anyone needs
Yeah.
to know
Okay.
about that sort of stuff, but
It's interesting. It's all part of it.
yeah, so anyway, we miscarried that one, and because there was still a viable pregnancy there, um, the sac didn't pass as
Mm.
straightforwardly as it would have, and it took weeks to pass, and there was just like little bits sort of passing
Mm.
sporadically, and occasionally Beth would have like a little bit of bleeding or a little bit of spotting, or there'd be like a little bit of chunks and stuff like that.
Mm.
And we had multiple scans, multiple scares, thinking, fuck, our world is caving in again. And
Mm.
we'd go, like, we had two stints in at the emergency room, thinking, the we were losing both pregnancies, and nothing nothing happened. Liam wise, everything sort of progressed as normal, and we did our 12-week scan, and everything was fine. Um, and then around the 15 to 16 week mark, Beth had a little bit of fluid pass, and we didn't know what was going on there. We just went about, there was no blood, or there was no anything else. It was just fluid. Um, and yeah, so we got to our 20-week scan for Liam, and yeah, we were told basically in that appointment that Beth's water had broken, and that yeah, she could go into labour at pretty much
Oh.
any point. And yeah, so you know, our world just shattered, again, and you're literally back to that sort of day by day period, and hour by hour, and everything like that. And yeah, I closed the shop for a few days, and we just hibernated. Put our phones on do not disturb. I told our family and stuff. Um, Put our phones on do not disturb, and just had a few days at home with our dog.
Mm.
And then had a hospital appointment, and from that point, Beth went into MFM, which is the maternal fetal medicine section at Royal Brisbane, and we were having weekly appointments from there, um, and
So she was
yeah,
20
not
weeks at this point.
yeah, 20, like, between 20 and 21 weeks, and we just sort of went through the process of, do you want to terminate? This is the likelihood of X, Y, and Z. Liam's got 10 to 20% chance of surviving. But we met with the doctors at the NICU, and they basically explained, what the different scenarios are that can
Mm.
happen. And the lung development period, I believe from memory, is between 18 and 24 weeks. And because her water had essentially broken before that, um, yeah, his
His
lungs just,
lungs went.
yeah, were just were stuffed basically, and
Mm.
we didn't know. Like it was a case of we don't know what we're going to deal with until he's born, and he's out in the world, and then we'll go from there. And so we're basically given a worst case scenario, which is you know, Beth will go into labor at any point, and yeah, depending how sick he is, we'll make a decision on what to do from there. Or best case scenario is he'll be born and need assistance breathing, need an oxygen tank and everything like that for
Mm.
the first year of his life, at least first 12 to 18 months of his life.
Yeah.
Um, but he'll survive. But it became a case of when he's born, we'll see what the condition of his lungs are.
And were
Um,
they trying to delay the labor at this point? Were they doing anything to
well,
stop it,
no,
or?
they couldn't really do anything. Like she was so each week we went in and had a scan just to see where he was positioned in the uterus and everything like that. And from about like the 23 or 24 week mark, he was the cord was in between him. The cord was in between him and the uterus. And then at about 25 weeks, 20 between 24 and 25 weeks, Beth started to show like little signs of an infection,
Mm.
which meant that as soon as something happened, like if it was like bad enough, it would be a case of getting him straight out and
Mm.
dealing with her health first, and
Yeah,
then
because mum always goes
seeing,
first.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and seeing what condition he is in. And yeah, so she went into she was in hospital for the last 6 weeks of the pregnancy, just like being monitored
Oh my
and
gosh.
everything like that. Yeah, so I I reduced our trading hours at the coffee shop, and yeah, I was at the hospital twice a day, with her. And
And she was just there full time.
yeah, she was in the
Oh my
maternity.
word.
It was in the maternity ward, and like, to be honest, that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, like for when he was born. But it was very difficult. It was very lonely for both of us, and yeah, it was just. But she was in the right place. Like, she was in the
Yeah.
right place, and yeah, it was really difficult for her being in a room with three other women,
Mm.
and their different situations and going on and everything like that. But yeah,
Was she in the same space as women that had healthy babies, or were they all high risk?
they were all. It really depended. Like, they tried to do their best to
Mm.
um, keep her. They tried to do their best to look after her, but sometimes, it was a case of, if a woman came in, in the middle of the night, and the only free bed was beside her, then that's what
Mm.
they had to get, and for the last 2 weeks, she managed to get a private room.
Okay.
So she was in a private room when the night that Liam was born, and then they moved us to the butterfly unit, which is,
Mm.
the section of the hospital where people have either just lost the baby or their baby's very, very ill. Um, yeah, so that was heavy.
So she spent 6 weeks in hospital, and then at what
Yeah.
point did she give birth to him? What week
Yeah,
were he?
so Liam was born at 30 plus 3. And
Yeah.
yeah, so he just kept hanging on. He just kept staying in
Mm.
there. There was no fluid. Like, um, Beth was pretty much leaking. He would urinate
Mm.
in utero, and that would pretty much come straight out. So it was,
Wow.
yeah, it was fucking nuts. Like, it was heavy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so sorry, I just lost my chain of thought.
No, that's right.
yeah, he was born at 30+3. So the last probably couple of weeks, he as he dropped in the uterus, it became more and more, sketchy about what the delivery process was going to be, and she ended up cord prolapsing in the
Oh,
in the
fuck.
bathroom. Yeah, she ended up cord prolapsing in the bathroom on on a Saturday night, the 11th of June, and yeah, she hit the panic button at 7:05, and yeah, he was born at 7:33 by emergency Caesar, and yeah, it was very very rough. I was at home and got a call from her phone. I was thinking, what the fuck? Like, we were just talking like
Mm,
probably 20 minutes before, and yeah, I was sitting on the lounge with our dog Poppy watching the football, and yeah, my phone rang. I'm like, hey, what's up? And it was a midwife, and she's like, oh, you've got
mm,
to get to the hospital ASAP. Beth's going in for an emergency cesarean
oh,
right now, and yeah, I was beside myself, and we had a bit of a plan. We had a bit of a plan lined up should this happen. With just what was going to happen and everything, and my in-laws live in northern New South Wales, so they came up that night, and then my mum and sister live in Sydney, and yeah, so he was born at 7:33 on Saturday, the 11th of June,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, so she lost 1.9 liters of blood, and for an emergency Caesar, they don't really like any more than 1 liter being
Yeah.
lost. Yeah, it was brutal. Um,
And had they warned her that an umbilical prolapse was possible?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They had. We were trying to avoid it, and there were a couple of scares. Like, she needed to be put on a CTG a few times, and I was just at the point, like, I think she was put on a CTG like pretty much every night for the last 10 nights, just for monitoring purposes, and
Mm,
yeah, for me, I just wanted him out. I was
mm,
getting really antsy towards the last, 5 days and that, and we'd had, there were a couple of times where he'd lean on his cord, and the his heart rate would plummet, and
mm.
blood pressure and everything would just drop massively, and like, I was freaking, like,
Had they ever
as
given an option to have a Caesar prior or induce her? Or,
we had talked about, she wasn't going to go past 37 weeks, without a doubt, wasn't going to go past 37 weeks.
yeah,
But it was a case of every day counts.
yeah.
So they were just trying to let it go for as long as possible, and we'll deal with whatever scenario we face. Um, you know, if we face it, basically. And because she was in hospital too, um, she was in the best place
Yeah.
to get, like, if that happened at home, he was dead, without a doubt.
Mm,
There was no,
mm.
um,
And I've just realised that I know what an umbilical prolapse is, but just in case there's anyone listening that doesn't, can you explain what that is and what that meant to the pregnancy?
yeah. So um, basically, the cord is sitting between the baby and the uterus, the vaginal cavity or
Yeah,
canal, or
yeah.
something.
The hole to
Um,
come out.
yeah, 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 that'll do. We'll work with that. And so the cord comes first, and what that means is basically that, if that comes all the way through, he's without oxygen potentially for that period, and there's just, yeah, he can come straight out. So what they advised her was, if that happens, if you feel the cord come out, get on all fours and hit the panic
Mm-hmm.
button straight away. And yeah, that's what she did. She was in the toilet, and she was doing a wee and wiped, and then felt the cord and was like, holy shit, this is like our worst fears are happening. And then yeah, she just smacked the panic button and got on all
Oh,
fours.
oh.
um, and a midwife came in and pushed the cord back up her vagina, and they
Mm-hmm.
got on the bed and covered her up, and then wheeled her down to the birthing to the birthing suite.
Yeah.
And yeah, she went straight in for an emergency Caesar.
About, I must have been maybe 36 weeks, and my Millie was breech always. Like her head was right
Mm,
up under my ribs. She was breech. We'd booked in for a cesarean because she wasn't moving. And then the last couple of weeks of my scans, she had moved to oblique lie, which is kind of diagonal.
yeah.
And then one of my last scans, probably 10 days before I birthed her, she was transverse.
Mm,
And my obstetrician said at the time, he said, look, I don't want to scare you, but this is really serious. The way
yeah.
baby's lying right now, your umbilical, she's laying sideways and the umbilical cord is here. You
Yeah.
could have what's called an umbilical prolapse, which means the umbilical cord comes out. If she falls onto it, she loses oxygen and it's
Yeah.
not good. I was petrified.
Yeah.
Like, and he said, if that happens, go into downward dog and don't move. And like, I
Mm,
thought he was taking the piss. I was like, that's a joke. And
yeah.
I was like, yep, cool if I'm at home. But then I was thinking, if I'm at the shops, no matter where you are, if
Well,
that
yeah.
happens, you go into downward dog. And he said, I've had people be delivered to the hospital in downward dog because you need the baby down here because they die. And I was just
Yeah.
like, and so when I got into the theater and I like was wheeled in and I've looked at Drew and I'm like, we made it, because it's like, didn't have a
Yeah.
prolapse, didn't have this, just thinking everything's perfect. But I can only imagine the fear that Beth would have had at
Yeah.
that moment. Like that is horrendous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. And
Mm.
yeah, like hearing any sort of, for her, hearing any sirens and like anything that
Mm.
resembles that sort of code one in the hospital was like, real triggering. And it brings back a lot of dark memories. And you can get all the psychological help that's available at the time, but it takes a very long time to get over something, to be able to deal with something like that, and
Mm.
process it. And yeah, it's just nuts.
Because
um
this was, I'm trying to look at my timeline that I've just been writing for
yeah.
you, June 11, 2021.
22.
22.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June 22.
Okay. So you've just passed a year and a bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're
so
about 16 months.
so
Yeah, 16,
16.
15.
So she gets wheeled down, you have an emergency cesarean, Liam
Yeah.
is born,
Yeah.
and then what happens?
Yeah, so I got to the hospital. I got a call from the midwife on Beth's phone at 10 past 7. And yeah, and this youngish, I think she would have been youngish. She was real like croaky in her voice, and real
Mm.
like sort of frazzled. And I was thinking, what the fuck is going on? And yeah, I was a mess, and got there in 15 minutes. We don't live too far, but let's just say, I now know where all the speed cameras are, on that route from,
You got there.
yeah, yeah, from that route from our place to the hospital, because, I didn't get a speeding fine. But yeah, anyway, um, yeah, got there in 15 minutes and went up to the birthing unit. And she was they were pretty much prepping her, like, yeah, when I got there, they were prepping her, I think. And I missed the chance to go into the room. Not, you
Oh,
know
okay.
yeah, so I wasn't in the room and had to wait outside. And I was just pacing up and down the corridors of the recovery area. And yeah, I ended up coincidentally seeing one of the doctors that looked after us from MFM. She was the first doctor that I saw, and I was a mess. and she just coincidentally happened to be there she was doing a scan for another couple in their area, and then heard Beth's name and everything, and was like, oh shit, I better hang around. I better hang around for this. And yeah, she didn't really have too much information, but she just said, look, she's in the best hands, and as soon as I know something, I'll come out. I'll come out and see her. So she
Yeah.
was kind of like my relay point, and
Yeah.
they're like, oh, do you want anything? And like I was hysterical, and I was just like, no, not really. I just want to be left alone. To be honest, I just want my son, and I want my wife.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
what I want. So unless you can, you know, get that to me, like I just want to be left alone, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, so a bit of time went past. He was born at 7:33, and it was probably at about um 7:50, 7:45 that the head surgeon came out, and she was just explaining to me what happened and what was going on, and she was saying that Beth has lost a lot of blood. Like we had to be quite rough, and
Mm.
things didn't go the way that they like that we'd hoped they would. And she's in recovery at the moment. And then Liam's gone to the NICU, which was on the level below.
Mm.
And yeah, so
Was Beth under like had they put her
yeah, knocked
under
her
or
out, knocked her out, like proper knocked her
Mm.
out. So
Fuck.
she was she was very sick for the first hour or two of coming out of the anesthetic, and in immense level of pain. And yeah, it was a really really difficult time, because just didn't know what to do, just had no clue what to do. And no way of taking any of her pain away or anything like that. And yeah, I was just patting her hair and just trying to stay with her. And Liam had to be worked on 4 times in the first hour. So they'd sort of bring him back and get his heart rate up, and then it would drop again. And then yeah, it was just that process of like up and down for the first hour and a bit. And when I ended up speaking to a doctor from the NICU, she came to me probably at about a little bit after 9 o'clock, and said, "Look, we need to have a serious sort of conversation about what you want to take place here." And yeah, so I went into a consulting room, and I was really pissed off with this doctor at the time, because at 25 weeks we had signed a waiver saying, administer as much care as possible. And then this lady who ended up being a really nice lady, had me away from Beth and away from Liam. And I was just like, why are we here?
You already know what to
Yeah,
do.
I
Yeah.
we signed a document saying administer as much care as possible 5 weeks ago. So why are we here? And
Mm.
I think basically she just said to me very black and white that it'll be a good result if Liam can get through the night. And basically, how much care do you want to be administered to him? The doctors and the midwives are doing all they can, but
Yeah.
he's really struggling at the moment to stay alive. And he's not staying alive on his own. That's for sure. And yeah, so I just said, look, fucking do everything in your power to keep him alive, and just do everything you can. And then we're like, oh, okay, So I went back to Beth, and then that doctor went back to the NICU, and it was probably, I think it was about 9:30 that I went and saw him for the first time. And
Mm.
yeah, it was hardcore. Like Yeah, he was very sick, and yeah, it was really upsetting.
Magical and heartbreaking in the same moment.
Yeah, yeah, but I was just so proud of so proud of him, and we had we had decided on his name, a few weeks before, and the name Liam means strong-willed warrior in Gaelic, and fuck, like that's exactly what he is, and he just kept fighting, and yeah, I was just so proud of him, and naturally I didn't want to touch him and make him sick, because you don't know what germs you're carrying at the time, and everything. I was just on the other side of the glass, just watching him, just talking to him, and yeah, it was a strange feeling. Um, yeah, and
um,
I just thought, like he had bruises and stuff, like his eyes were swollen and everything, and
yeah.
yeah, I just thought, fuck, just hang in there, mate. Like,
You just feel so
uh,
sorry for them. Hey, like, fuck, they're
yeah,
the strongest little people. Like,
yeah, and
they go through way more than we ever will. Like,
yeah, and he was just, I just kind of wanted to know how much pain he was in, and everything like that, and like, oh, he's on some heavy painkillers and everything like that, so he's not feeling anything, and
yeah.
as time went on, throughout later in the night and into Sunday morning, my my measurement of what was happening was determined on, I was watching the body language of the midwives and the doctors and stuff, and my sort of indication of what was going on for him was dependent on how many people were
Mm-hmm.
around him, and like how many like health professionals were around him, because they're speaking their language to me, but fuck, I'm a simple
Yeah.
cat. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand, the medical terminology, and I said to one of the midwives, like, can you just explain to me on the monitor what are the things that I've got to sort of keep an eye on to know that whether he's getting better, or whether the meds are working, or whether they're not working, type thing. And yeah, because Beth, you know, she was out of it. She was heavily medicated, and she doesn't remember
So
much.
had she been to meet him at this point, or was she
Yeah,
still in?
she came probably just a little bit before 10 o'clock. Um, yeah, and she came around in the bed, and you know, you guys had a Caesar, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, like the physical pain and everything, and she was dealing with her own, you know, like pain levels,
Yeah.
and stuff, and then
And
trying
and
to
the
be there.
trauma, like your head
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
fucked. Like it. Yeah.
yeah, and trying to be there to see him, and yeah, it was just, yeah, I don't yeah.
So it's fucked. It's really
Mm,
fucked. It's
that's
like,
the only way of putting it, and yeah, it's really fucked.
yeah. And I think even like I look back at photos of Millie and I'm like, man, she was so sick. But when I was
Mm,
in that room, and I even said it to someone today, I posted a video today of me putting colostrum on a tip and putting it in her
mm,
mouth. And I'm saying to her, it's going to make you all better, Millie. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
legitimately thought this magic colostrum was going to just wake, like, she was just going to wake up and
Yeah,
be okay. And
yeah,
like, I swear the doctors were telling us how sick she was. They were telling us it's not good, but we were
yeah,
like, it's okay. If there's hope, there's hope. If they're still breathing, they're there,
yeah,
and
yeah, exactly.
you cannot fathom or take in what they're actually telling you.
Yeah,
And yeah.
and you try and I think it's probably like a protection mechanism as well. Like, you just, I've always had selective hearing, so I just as my wife will back up, I just sort of at times, just take on what I want to hear,
Yeah.
and you try your best to retain as much information as possible, but it's like it's that fight or flight um, time, and as it turned out, we only had 22 hours, and for
Mm.
me, I can relive that 22 hours like, you know, like it was yesterday. And yeah, so it's just,
And how were they with you, like in terms of, like on my podcast, I obviously talked about how amazing the NICU nurses and the
yeah,
neonatologists were at guiding us through that last day. Did
yeah.
you have some beautiful time with him, skin to skin, anything like that? Like, did they guide you through all of that beautifully, or?
Yeah, we did. We had great care. Like, apart from the only negative experience that I had that I can remember anyway is the just the run-in with the doctor when he was first born, like going into the consulting room. But that was partly my emotions. Just
Mm,
everyone's emotions were flying, and
yeah,
theirs too, because it was a hectic um, situation, and probably not one that happens super often for them. It
yeah.
may, but that was like full on. And yeah, so that was only like the negative experience that
Mm,
I would say. And yeah, the doctors and the nurses were amazing. He died just after 5:30 on Sunday, and the midwives, from the night before, were sort of just coming back on for their next shift. And yeah, we got as much time as we wanted. And it's a hard sort of thing to it's a hard feeling to explain. But he kind of went downhill about 2 o'clock on the Sunday afternoon. And he was starting to come good on Sunday morning, and we thought, oh, he might be a chance of getting through this. And I was starting to get a little bit of hope. And you know um I messaged my mum at one point, early on Sunday morning, saying he's starting to respond a little bit to the meds. And she was like, oh, fuck, great,
mm,
he's gonna make it through. I know he's gonna make it through. And
mm,
then something happened. They put him on a different medication, or they moved him. They turned him around to sort of give him a wash, and he just didn't respond to this other form of meds. And it basically got to the point where they had done all that they could medically to
mm.
keep him alive. And yeah, he started to go downhill like pretty quick at about 2 o'clock on the Sunday afternoon. And um, yeah, it was about 4:30, and Beth was having a nap, and I was going down to see him with my father-in-law um, at 4:30, and a doctor stopped me in the hallway and was like, "Oh, Chris, you might want to go get Beth. We're gonna have to have you know, some conversations about Liam's care going forward and everything." And yeah, could just tell that shit was going sideways real quick. And yeah, I went up to the room and got Beth, and she was in the wheelchair, and still in immense levels of pain. And I'm wheeling her into the wheelchair, and all these thoughts are going around in my head, because we knew basically what was coming, that the end was
Mm,
approaching. And walked into the NICU, into the room that he was in. And the sun was setting, and there had just been like a sun shower. And I just remember
mm,
the sun just beaming in, like it was like incredible. And sunlight was beaming into the room, and I thought, holy fuck, like what is going on? And yeah, it was just it was a real, I don't know, it's just one of those moments that I'll never forget. Um, and yeah,
did it, I mean, I don't know if I'm understanding what you're thinking, but like for me, like,
yeah.
did it feel like it was right? Like it was like, the sun, like,
Um,
it's like it,
I don't know,
it,
like I don't know really. Like I sort of go through phases. Like I'm a spiritual, I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not religious. And as
Mm,
we were talking about,
mm,
but I kind of feel, I don't know, I just go through periods where I feel like maybe that was my dad, coming to get him or whatever. I don't know. People,
yeah,
you can make what you want of it, but it
I
was
love
just
that.
one of those moments that is just unexplainable. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I don't
I
know.
think the
So
thing with grief is like a lot of the conversations I've been having lately is take whatever you want out of it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
somebody noticed on one of my videos the other day there was like an orb, and I was like,
mm,
What is that?" And then I looked into it, and I've had a few videos that it happened to now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and Dylan and I were discussing it, and we're like, yeah, it could be a light refraction. Or
yeah,
it could be Milli. And it's like,
yeah,
why not think that it's Milli and just love that that could be it? Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
I just think there's so many things that you can look into and people think, oh, it's bullshit or not. But,
yeah,
nothing's ever a coincidence. That light, whether
exactly.
it was, whatever it was that
Yeah,
you saw and how you felt. And I know for us, when we got taken into that quiet room and we had to have that conversation, at the time I was screaming, I can't lose my girl. I can't lose my girl.
mm,
Like I was not okay with it. But then something came over us and it was like, man, she's in so much pain. Like we
yeah,
can't keep doing this. Like
yeah, yeah,
and someone said it to me at church the other day, we pray for healing for us, but it's
yeah,
not about us. And we did. I was praying. I so wanted her to stay with us, but she was so unwell. She needed to go,
yeah,
like, and yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and that's it. Like especially in the first 4 to 6 months after he died. Things happen that were not. There's just no other explanation for it, and um, yeah, like our dog was acting real strange and just different, and
Mm-hmm.
um, like I believe that sort of stuff way more than what my wife does, what Beth does, and um, we kept having experiences of like just an overwhelming smell of our memory box, and there's such a there's such a distinct. I don't know if you got one, like
Mm-hmm.
if you guys got one, but the Precious Wings memory box, there's a real distinct smell of like like baby wipes. What else is in there? There's like baby
Mine
wipes,
smells like
hand
the
cream.
clay. There's a clay
Yeah.
imprint, and the smell of that is like a really
Oh, yeah, yeah,
strong.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And like we both sort of got just overwhelming, just at random times, like Beth would be driving, and this one particular instance, she just kept getting cut off, and by just imbecilic sort of driving, and she was like infuriated this one afternoon, and then just got this overwhelming sense of whiff of the memory box, and like we were both in the car together, and Poppy, our dog, was in the back seat, and it was like, fuck, how else do you explain that? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
other explanation really to us, and people can believe what they want, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we believe, and I'm sure other bereaved parents have had experiences like that, where
Mm,
you feel your child's presence, and
absolutely.
for me, there's a lot of things that I'm fearful of since he was born and died, and then there's a
Mm,
lot of things that I just couldn't care less. But one thing in particular is I'm like scared of the dark for some reason, and so I'll get home, like the sun will be setting, and I'll put like every light in the house on, and I don't.
mm,
It's not that I'm afraid of seeing his spirit or
mm.
anything like that. I just hate the dark. Like I just
Wow.
really dislike the dark. Not to
Yeah.
the point that it stops me going to sleep or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like
You
once
just
my
feel
head
like you
hits the
need the
pillow,
light or something
yeah, I'm
on.
out. But yeah, I just need light
Yeah.
on. Mm.
Mm.
So yeah.
And you know what? Like, who knows what that means? Who knows how long that'll
Mm.
last for? I'm just sure that's a big part of grief. And
Yeah.
even before
Yeah.
when you were
Exactly.
talking, you were like, "Oh, I've lost my train of thought." Like grief fog is like
Yeah.
so
It's
fucking like
huge.
all the time
yeah,
Dylan's like, do you want to finish that sentence? And I'm like, what? And he's like, you were just talking. Like, I
yeah,
just
yeah,
stopped mid-sentence. I've just lost my brain. Like,
yeah.
so much memory from before Millie. I just have no memory of it.
Exactly. And you can remember, like for me in particular, like I can remember each detail from that period and relay it like it was yesterday. But I'll see someone in the street, or say a customer, when we had the coffee shop, I'll see a customer and completely forget their order, or just like for
Yeah.
me, like uncharacteristic things,
Mm,
and that's just
yeah.
grief. And anyone that's experienced, the heaviness of it, or you know, knows exactly what we're talking
Mm.
about.
It's grief and trauma, because what I
Mm,
find with our stories with when it comes to baby loss is we have the grief and we lost someone, but then there's always trauma associated with it. Like
yeah,
you getting that phone call that Beth's gone into labor and then
yeah,
she's going in, like that's traumatic.
yeah,
Going in, you weren't able to be in the theater. That's
yeah,
traumatic. Seeing your baby, not knowing how much time you've got, like all of the things that go, and then you lose them. So
yeah,
there's the
exactly.
grief, and then there's the trauma that's associated with it. And then there's also the grief of what was. And I feel like that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah,
For the last 10 weeks, I've been so sad of what we went through, Millie, that we lost her. But
yeah,
now I'm grieving the things that I don't have with her, like going to this conference on the weekend. I
yeah,
had the headphones for her. I had all these things ready for this 3-day weekend, and my baby wasn't there.
yeah.
Christmas, like how the fuck do we get through Christmas without our
Oh,
baby?
yeah,
Like I'm grieving the loss of my expectations of having my child.
yeah, yeah. And like
How
for
was
me,
that first
sorry.
year for you guys? No, sorry.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was terrible. The first, I was just gonna say, like on that, like I love rugby league, and like rugby league's my thing. And um, when Liam died, I pretty much lost interest in the season. Like I used to watch every single game, and then for that second half of last season, I just watched the South games, because I'm a South supporter. And then this year, yeah, this year I wouldn't watch the 5:30 games on a Saturday afternoon, because
Mm,
the that's the
oh, of course.
I
The
was
game you
watching
were
the
watching when you
yeah, I
got the
was watching,
call.
yeah,
Fuck.
when the phone rang, and I
Mm,
would avoid that unless my team was playing, or unless I knew it was going to be a good game. And yeah, so I think that first year is like next level worst, because all the first, you're just trying to, you don't know how to navigate it. The first Father's Day, the first
mm-hmm.
the first Mother's Day for you in your situation, the first Christmas, first birthday, first anniversary, like
Yeah.
it's just all the first, so sort of milestones. For a very long time, Saturdays and Sundays weren't the same thing to us, because we'd had um, such a heavy experience. And then the 11th and 12th of the month, I just would
Yeah.
would be a completely different person to, say, the 18th or the 19th or the 20th, for example.
And was that unconsciously? Like, or you knew? Because, like,
Yeah,
the first month I had people like, oh, 1 month, and I was like still in a daze. But then last month or like last week, I was fucked and I didn't know
mm,
why. Like, I was severely depressed. I was very not good. And
yeah,
then my sister was like, oh, it's the 14th, which was her birthday. And I
yeah,
didn't even realize that it, no, it was more the 20th. It was the following week when she had passed. And I just
yeah.
unconsciously maybe didn't realize that that's what had happened.
Yeah, I don't know really. Like for me, I don't. My job now, I don't need to write the date so often. So, you know, I just sort of wake up. It's Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um, follow that sort of process. But before we sold our shop, I'd write the date a, 1,000 times a day, and everything like that. So I was always, subconscious, like always knew subconsciously, like
Mm,
where we
what the
were
date
in the
was.
month, and
Mm.
everything like that. But yeah, like yeah, sorry, I forgot what your question was. Sorry.
Oh, I think I
Oh, we were
said,
talking. Yeah, we
oh
were
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
the days. Yeah.
the first.
So for me, not really now, but that's more because I don't have a need to write the the day, the date as much. But
Yeah,
my grief is still like very very heavy and very ebbs and like very up and down. And what I've started to realize is, probably in the last couple of weeks, is if I'm not in a good headspace, like from a work point of view, or from other things going on in my life, the grief is so much heavier. If I stop exercising, if I get lazy, like it's
yeah,
starting to get hot, it's starting to warm up now. So I'm not walking our dog as much and doing all those things. I'm not sort of filling my bucket in
mm.
other ways. Then the grief will be a hell of a lot heavier. Yeah, I find, but yeah,
And after it happened, did you get good support? Like, was the hospital supportive? Did you have professional help? Like, what kind of things? And probably you more so, because I want
yeah,
to know from a man's perspective,
yeah.
like, what kind of help did you seek in that last, say, 12 months, or particularly straight after?
Yeah, so initially, like, I didn't really get a whole lot of support. Like, I had apart, disregarding my mum and sister, who were a great help for me. And my mum, sister, and Beth were immensely helpful for me. Disregarding the three of them, I didn't really have a whole lot of help. Had a little bit, had a few really good people, but not as much as I needed. And it ended up taking me. We went through Red Noses Hospital to Home program, which was very helpful. And if anyone in that early stage is watching this, I would highly recommend that you consider that option.
And
If
what
it's a
exactly is that?
um, so we had a grief counselor come to our house and just help us navigate that first sort of those first 4 to 5, 6 months. And this particular lady, she had lost twins as well, so she knew what we were going through and everything like that. And she was a massive help to us. And yeah, I think if it wasn't for her and without Red Nose, I would be a hell of a lot worse mentally than what I am.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, apart from them, it took me it took me six psychologists to find one that would take me on, which was really difficult.
They wouldn't even take you on.
No, like for whatever reason, their books were full, or I didn't have availability, or there was, say, a conflict of interest, or blah blah blah. Like the for various reasons. And like for a male, that's really difficult. And
Hmm.
in Beth's situation, she got in right away to see someone, and she was getting help fucking almost
Mm.
instantly, like
Mm.
within the
I was
first
like,
month.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
my first week out of hospital, my GP had me in that afternoon at 2 p.m., and I've seen someone every week since, and
mm.
Dylan's still waiting.
That's good. That's good for you. Like that's
Mm.
good for the mother, but it's
Mm.
really detrimental to the partner, I feel. And
Mm.
this is something that like really pisses me off, and something that I'm like really passionate about is the fact that the the husband or the partner or the non-birthing parent is
Mm.
almost like not necessarily disregarded intentionally, but then just seen as like a fucking, oh, we'll get to you when we can, mate, type thing.
Mm.
And that's not good enough. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't want to get all like you know all political or anything, but you can almost see why there's such a high suicide rate in men compared to women, when
Mm.
the level of care is just not the same. And yeah, it just really upsets me.
Seeing that article of the guy in WA last week,
Yeah,
I'm sure you saw it, and that just
yeah,
absolutely shattered me. I just, I, it, yeah, it
yeah.
shouldn't have
It's
got to that point, and I would like to think that he would have had enough support and help before it got to that point, but
yeah.
maybe not.
People, yeah, and not everyone can process their feelings as in the same way that I can, and
Mm.
especially males. And one thing that I think that that has I've really learned over the last 15 and a bit months is that men need to be better at supporting other men.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Women are so much better at like getting around supporting their tribes and everything like that. And
Yeah.
men just need to have this sort of idea that this she'll be right approach, and like, oh, if I don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, then it'll just go away. And it's like, mate, I can guarantee you it's not going to go away, and it's only going to make things worse. And
Yeah.
I had a very brief period where I was contemplating suicide, like where those thoughts had crossed my mind, and it wasn't the fact that that I wanted to die. I definitely didn't want to die. I just didn't want to live in a world without my son either.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
um, I was just super frustrated with everything, and I was a broken human, and
Mm.
you know I'm far from fixed now, but I'm in a lot better headspace. And yeah,
What?
just
How far past Liam's birth and death was it that you felt like that?
um, about this period that you're at, like that.
Mm.
This time last year, actually, I was at my worst. Yeah, October. Yeah, start of October, end of September.
Yeah.
As trivial as it may sound, like my football team got beat in the game before the grand final, and I just they were that little bit of hope
Mm.
that I had at that time. And there were other things going on, but yeah, I was just a mess. Um,
Yeah.
and on the surface, I would tell people that I was fine, but yeah, I was far from fine.
Mm. Yeah. It's because obviously I worry about Dylan. He's amazing and great, and he's always fine, and he's always looking out for me. But like I
Mm,
said, he had a psychologist appointment last month that he couldn't make it to, and then now he's not booked in until we get back from America, which is November, and then he can't make the first two because of work, and it's just
yeah,
like all these things, and then I just worry so much. Like, is there enough support? Is there enough conversations going on? Is there going
yeah,
to be a tipping point? But I mean, I do think he's fine. It's
yeah,
me more that I worry, like that he worries
yeah,
about and that I worry about. But I'm very open about my feelings. That I was at that point last week. I was like, I don't want to be here.
yeah,
He said to me at one point, I feel like you don't love me. And I said, I don't love anyone or anything right now. Like, and I was
yeah.
just
You
honest.
just,
I was like,
yeah,
I got nothing. If my Millie's not here, what do I have? And I'm like, I can't even bring a baby into this world that's healthy and it's going to stay. And then we can't fall pregnant for 12 months. Are we even going to, all the things that I'm sure
yeah,
you and Beth have gone through as
yeah,
well. And I was like, what's the fucking point?
yeah,
In my head, I thought, Dylan could go meet, he's 7 years younger than me. He'll go meet someone younger and he'll have healthy babies, all the
yeah,
stupid shit that goes through your head. Like, and
yeah,
I know
and
that it's not. And for me, like, the psychologist was amazing. And she was like, are you going to do anything? I was like, no, I don't want to go. It was
yeah,
just my thoughts in that moment. And, I wouldn't do that to my family. It wasn't, I wouldn't do it to me, or, it
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I wouldn't do that to my family. But
yeah,
and you were saying before about being scared of things or not. Like, I used to be so scared of death or, the aeroplane crashing. Now I'm like, well, at least if I die, I'll be with Millie sooner. Like, I don't
yeah,
know if that's a really
yeah.
fucked up thought, but, it's my thought.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I've had those type of thoughts as well, and especially in that within that first 6 months as well. Like that was really difficult. And the problem is, if you don't have the tools to get control of your mind, then your head and your brain can really fuck you up. And
Mm,
the things that cross your mind, they're just I don't know where they come from, but
mm,
yeah, they can be really brutal. And mine was like I was saying to you a couple of nights ago, like just really irrational. Like, why didn't I suggest, a lung
mm.
transplant for Liam? Like, I would have given him my lungs in a heartbeat. And like, they're literally thoughts that went through my head, like after the fact. Like, why didn't we do this? Why didn't we do that?
Yeah.
And they're all unrealistic things that I'm sure a medical professional would suggest if they were
If it was
possible.
if it was a possibility, they would have offered
Yeah,
that to you. Yeah.
if it was an option, but it just they're not options. But that's just your head, and if you don't, in if you're in that fog and that real dark place,
Hmm.
it is a brutal place to try and come back from, and especially if you're not getting the professional help as well. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's
it's
so
just
important. And so, what things did you implement? Like, you're obviously another 12 months ahead of where you were
yeah, yeah,
then.
I started seeing a psychologist, and she's very grief specific, and she helped me a lot. And um you know if anything, it was just a neutral person, like to be able to speak to, and I was seeing her weekly initially, and then it sort of got out to monthly. And she helped me a lot. And yeah, I don't see her currently. I kind of feel like I'm in a better headspace than what I was a year ago. But yeah, I don't sort of see her currently, but she helped immensely.
Yeah. And do you think that, because I think I'm under the impression that in the last couple of months more so, you've implemented a fair few things or you're kind of doing more in the community. Do you think those things are helping you?
Yeah, being around. It started this year. I started a touch football team of bereaved dads, and we play on a Tuesday night in Brisbane. Um, and hearing their stories and everything like that has just helped me feel not so alone. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest, the honest truth is, though, when you're in that super dark place, you know that you're not alone. But for me anyway, I just didn't feel like, I didn't really care that
Mm,
I'm not alone. Like, you're just in that tunnel vision of being in a really shitty headspace. But yeah, anyway, you know, being around those guys, and um, just telling Liam's story as much as possible, and talking about him, and um, really fighting as hard as I can for other bereaved parents, helps
mm,
me deal with my own shit as well.
yeah.
And yeah, so just doing.
I can't believe there's enough bereaved dads just in Brisbane to make a touch football team. Like, I know that's not
Yeah,
many, but it still
yeah,
breaks my heart. There's like there's still that many, you
yeah.
know?
Well, it's as we're aware, it's a way more common thing than what anyone would like. And you think of just the amount of babies that are stillborn each day alone, like, is like, fuck, this shouldn't be happening.
Mm-mm,
But
mm-mm.
yeah, I yeah, I don't want to. Yeah.
Did you guys end up? Did you get offered to have like an autopsy on Liam to find out why things?
Yeah, we did. And it took a while to get the report back. But there was no there was no real known reason for what happening. It was just like a freak sort of accident. there was no pinpointed reason, but what we believe is the case is the most likely case anyway was um, as the the twin embryo that miscarried, as some part of that was passing through, it's like clipped his sac and
Uh,
split his sac open, which which meant that it couldn't be repaired, and yeah, that caused Beth's water to break, and everything sort of came from there, and it was just one of those bad luck sort of situations. And yeah, we had to terminate an ectopic pregnancy at the start of the year as well,
oh my
which
word.
was another, completely bad luck situation. But um, that added to the grief.
Far
Yeah,
out.
compounded everything. And yeah, we had another sort of very bad hospital situation where Beth miscarried and everything like that. So yeah, she had a corneal ectopic pregnancy. So what that means for people that don't know is the the egg has implanted at the corner of the fallopian tube in the uterus. So sort of right on that sort of you know that corner there, and then implanted there, and it was growing back up towards the fallopian tubes. Um,
Which is so
so
dangerous.
yeah, it's incredibly dangerous, and yeah, we weren't aware at the time, but she was pregnant at Christmas, and then yeah, mid January we found out that you know this was the case, and we had to terminate, and yeah, she ended up we have
Fuck.
we had to terminate via a round of chemo, because it
Fuck
was
off.
it was that was probably the less invasive sort of scenario, and yes, like surgery would mean that that's basically her whole fallopian tube gone,
Mm. Mm.
and
I've never heard of that.
yeah, it's a very rare, like, ectopic pregnancies are like this much level of rareness, and then corneal ectopics are like even more
Mm.
completely rare, uh,
And I'm sure
below
Beth's just
that.
thinking, of course this fucking happened. You
Yeah,
know, like the
of course
poor
this happens
thing.
to us, yeah. And
Fuck.
yeah, so that the start of the year was really really difficult.
And was that a natural conception?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my word.
yeah, we
And
didn't.
fuck. And how did the chemo go? Like what did that
Um,
involve?
she just went in for a round. It was just one single round. And yeah, went into to that area of Royal Brisbane, and see it like for me, I was in a really bad headspace at that period of time, so that's not as clear in my mind, like play by
Mm.
play type thing. But basically, she went in, had the chemo round. There were people there with cancer and everything at the time,
Mm.
um, and then it was basically a wait and see to see if come back in a week, basically, and
I'm
we'll
shocked.
run a scan. We'll scan you, and to see if the pregnancy has arrested, um, or terminated, as they call it,
Yeah.
and yeah, it didn't take initially. It
Oh.
didn't happen initially, and then the following week, we found out that there was no heartbeat and everything like that. But yeah, the sac was a lot bigger this time around, than the first miscarriage that we had, and it was a hell of a
So did she pass it naturally?
yeah. She passed it naturally. Couldn't have a D&C because it was too it was again too invasive. It was too close to the fallopian tubes and everything. So the best case scenario turned out to be that that it passes that it passes naturally, which is what happened. And we were in the emergency room at the time. And again, she was on all fours on the bed, and that's yeah.
I just can't believe how much you've both been through.
Yeah, we've been through a lot. Yeah.
Like, a lot, a lot. And your marriage is still intact,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because
we went
like,
through a difficult patch actually,
mm-hmm.
for a little while after that. We were just both sort of separately angry with the world, and that you know meant that we sort of turned on each other a little bit more than what we normally would, and
Yeah.
um, we've been through so much. Like in 2015, early 2015, Beth had thyroid cancer. So I had, radiation for that. Within our relationship, my dad's died. We've lost a child. She's been through cancer. We've had multiple
Fuck.
miscarriages and stuff like that. And then it was, we've always stayed strong in those moments. But yeah, this one was a lot harder to get over, but we're over it. Like
Mm.
we're good now, and we just had to go back to working on us, and
Yeah,
you know, um, fortnightly date nights and stuff like
that's
that,
nice.
and just
Yeah.
working on our relationship, and yeah,
I think that's super important that you talk about that as well from a male perspective, because
yeah,
I think a lot of men don't talk about stuff like the
yeah,
struggles or the, having date nights or caring about your wife or
yeah,
trying through this or how hard it is for you. Because whilst my heart is absolutely breaking for Beth because I'm thinking of all the physical shit her body's going
mm,
through, but from a male perspective, you have to sit back and watch.
yeah,
You've got to watch your wife go through all these things and I imagine feel somewhat useless of
yeah,
not even understanding that pain.
yeah,
But then, like you said before, people not acknowledging your pain because
yeah,
you weren't the birthing parent, but you're
yeah,
still grieving the loss of your son, of what was, and then watching your loved one hurt too.
yeah, and a lot of situations that you know things like things that we've been through in our life, or I've been through in particular. I've always been the carer, like, well, a like immediate sort of carer. My dad died of motor neurons disease, and he died in 10 months and 2 days from diagnosis to the day he died, and that went happened all very quickly, and he needed care, and then everything that Beth's been through, she needed care. So I've always sort of, in a lot of
Hmm.
situations, been a quite prominent care provider, which is difficult as well.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the physical, I'm not feeling physically what they are, but like, yeah, just my head's a mess, like
Yeah.
on the inside, and if you're not getting, if you're not staying on top of things, it can really bite you on the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. And I saw on in that group that I found you in the other day, and you'd done something with the government in terms of
Yeah,
funding and stuff. What was that you're doing?
yeah. So it came about from a conversation that I had with a couple of the dads in the touch football team, and um, it was basically that. So in our situation, I was an owner occupier of our coffee shop, and I was a sole trader at the time, and didn't get any. My headphones are about to die, so I'm just going to take them off.
Okay.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just having conversations with a couple of these guys, and um, they weren't really, looked after in terms of like they didn't have the means to take leave or take time off work, and neither did I. Like after this termination in January that we had to go through, I was back at work. I just started a new job. I was back at work after 3 days, and then when Liam died, I was back at work after 3 weeks, and I just thought, like, this is fucked. Like, why? I completely understand that the government can't help everyone and everything like that, but they seem to have endless buckets of money for this, that, and the other. Whereas you've got people that genuinely need, to be, financial assistance, like in our situation, bereaved parents, or like the secondary caregiver, and they can't get it, so they're back at work, well before they should be, really, because they have no other financial means to do so. And I didn't think it was right. So basically, the petition is I'm asking the federal government to firstly scrap the stillborn lump sum payment that is made, which is at the moment it's made to parents of a stillborn baby, and it's just a touch over 4 weeks at minimum wage, which is $3,766.14. So I'm asking them to scrap that and then introduce an infant loss payment of $10,000, which includes sort of second trimester miscarriage, stillborn, SIDS, infant loss, and for pretty much every cause of death from the second trimester through to first 12 months of life. And $10,000 is just under 12 weeks at minimum wage. Which means that in our situation, just for example, I can stay at home. I can get my head in a better place mentally than what it was, and that means that I can go back to work, just feeling like a more valued and looked after, and it means that I've gone through my grief process a lot more privately than what I did, and I just feel like it makes me a better contributor to society.
Absolutely. We see people out on the street or whatever, or you have a bad interaction with someone and somebody's cranky or whatever, and it's like, well, we have no idea what these people are going through. Like, who knows? I run into you in a cafe and bump into you and you have a go at me. It's like, well, who knows what you've been going through? And if you don't have that time to deal with all these emotions, and I just think, even thinking about that miscarriage, like so many people disregard how hard a miscarriage is.
Yeah.
But let's topple that on top of everything else you've been through in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
It's not just a miscarriage. It's, it's awful. What you guys have been through is fucking crazy.
Yeah, and the reality is that, everyone's going through something. I guess there's just levels of, what people's... And some people don't have the... I don't know, some people don't have the ability to go and want to talk to a professional, and they deal with things differently. They bottle things up. I'm just fortunate that, I'm pretty open about my, my struggles, and, I'm a bit more emotionally, focused than what other men are, I guess.
Do you have any plans going forward? I'd like to, maybe open it up to if there are men that are listening to this. As I said to you, I had a guy reach out on Instagram today that had listened to Dylan's podcast, and he loved, there was an Aussie guy on here sharing his story.
Yeah.
He's an Aussie guy who's lost a child, and he knew that you were coming on the podcast. So, word is traveling, which is amazing. Is there going to be a space that, you guys are thinking of, like an online platform or, a group or something, or what is next for, men in this space?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know. I would hope that, more is going to be done. But for me, like I can only speak for myself and from my personal experiences. But I know that I'm not alone in like a lot of the things that I say. I'm sure it's resonated with a lot of people, and I just sort of every opportunity that I get, I want to be able to scream Liam's name from the rooftop because you know he's he fought like literally
Mm.
fought to the death, and
Mm-hmm.
his life is not going to just die in vain. And exactly what your the name of your podcast is, like little life big loss, and like it is like a monumental loss. And
Mm.
I can't obviously I can't bring him back, but if I can help people in whatever way I can to be able to process their stuff and speak at every opportunity that I get, I'll take with two hands. And I
Yeah.
don't know, it's I for me personally I would prefer to speak as a guest than run like organize a podcast and everything like that. But
Mm.
there definitely needs to be more done for men in particular, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can to keep Liam's legacy alive. Really.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you're doing is amazing. I really hope more men want to speak. And, I have had a couple reach out already that are open to it. And I
Yeah.
love that. And I just feel like, and that's why I did interview Dylan straight away, because I wanted to open that space.
Mm.
Because, us women can talk underwater.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But for men to be able to open up and then, be vulnerable, like you've been vulnerable today, you've
Yeah.
been so honest and real. And, you've talked about all the hardships that you guys have had and how scary it was experiencing all of this. And it's super admirable. And
Yeah.
Liam would be so proud of you.
Yeah. I
And,
appreciate.
people say that to me, and I always think, oh, yeah, but, he honestly, like, my heart is with you guys and I
Yeah.
just want to hug you.
Yeah.
But, he would honestly be so proud of you.
Yeah. I appreciate that, and always try and be as honest as possible. And people that I don't like to sugarcoat shit, and I just want to tell things how I see them, and tell my truth. And you know if my experiences can help the next person, then I'm more than happily. It makes me really proud to be able to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like more needs to be done as well. It's yeah, there's a long way to go, a hell of a long way
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. I think in general, like, I mean, we did have a beautiful experience in the hospital, but I've already given my feedback to the hospital
Yeah,
in our aftercare. It hasn't been great.
yeah,
They've missed the ball with us a lot. We had the Ronald McDonald House call us 3 days later saying, "Hi, our room's become available. Did you want to come stay?" And I was like, my baby died. It's
yeah,
too late. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so there's still so much, I think, in aftercare
yeah,
that can be done better.
yeah,
But yeah, definitely more so for men as well. I totally
yeah,
agree.
yeah. I do too. It's disappointing that you've had that experience, and we had a similar experience. I can't remember exactly what took place, but it was something like it was a routine appointment, like say his 6 week checkup. We got a note for that. I was like, fuck, are
Mm,
these are these are they serious?
mm,
Like,
mm. Fuck.
like
It's just like salt in the wound.
yeah, and you're already testy at that period of time as well. But yeah, it's just what do you do? Like yeah, I just letting
I
some stranger have it just for the simple fact that you're hurting and everything isn't always the
mm,
answer. And we explained the situation to the hospital and to the caregiver, and or to the provider, and yeah, it was just we were fine to leave it at that. But
Mm.
Yeah,
It's a yeah. I've had some beautiful feedback. Like, so I've had the martyr call me and like so apologetic, and I said, look, I was fine in the moment. Like, I handled it okay, but there's going to be some people that wouldn't handle that.
yeah,
Like, that could be the tipping point for some people. So I wanted to ask you as well. You said earlier, like, you had Beth and your mum and your sister, and they were phenomenal support
yeah,
in those first couple of weeks when you got home. What would have been great support? So if somebody's listening to this, their friend has just lost a baby,
yeah.
how can they support somebody in this situation?
Um, if you live within, within reach of them, like a few suburbs away or whatever, home cooked meals are always a start. Um, I completely understand that people just don't want to barge in and everything like that, but sometimes you need to show a bit of initiative and just take the ball type thing.
Yeah.
And so like my suggestion would be like home cooked meals, shopping, or
Mm,
say, look, you know so and so is going to take you out for a coffee. I'm just going to come in quickly and clean your house if you're all right with it. It's all those trivial sort of things that actually make
yeah.
a really big difference. And if you're not within reach, like I had a couple of mates that them and their partners got us a heap of food vouchers, and that made a huge difference. Like
Yeah.
when you're in a heavy grief sort of state, the last thing you want to do is cook a meal. Like you're just sort of eating to survive. You've got no
Yeah.
um,
100%.
so thinking about what kind of meal to have is like, fuck, seriously, you've got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's real difficult. So yeah, anything like that. And then another suggestion would just be there for your person to speak. Just be a good shoulder to cry on. Be there to listen to their stories. You don't have to fix their problems, but
Mm,
just just let them speak. Like, and
yeah.
if you're unsure about what to say, there's plenty of things to find on Google that would help.
Mm-hmm.
A simple Google search of, oh, how do I help my grieving friend, um, goes a hell of a long way, and it's really underestimated. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah, I was shocked at how many of my friends said, "Oh, I've been googling." Like weeks later, they told me, "Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
googled that," and I was like, "Oh, I would have never have thought of that." But yeah,
yeah,
we had groceries delivered, dog food.
yeah,
We got all of the flowers and the gifts and all those things. But yeah, we've had people drop in and I'm coming to clean your house on Sunday at 11.
yeah,
Or my cousins would come in with groceries and then they just unpack the dishwasher, mop the floor, put a load of washing on.
yeah,
Like, you just almost have to be a little bit bossy sometimes,
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
people would be like, "How can I help you? What can I do?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't care. I'm not even brushing my own teeth. I don't
yeah,
give a fuck what you do.
yeah,
Either do it or it's not going to get done."
yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. It's a really hard it's a really hard time for everyone involved, and everything like that. And I completely understand that it's difficult for people who don't know what to do, but yeah, doing nothing is not good enough. Doing nothing and
mm,
sort of you know just avoiding the topic is not helpful at all.
we just had lunch just before I jumped to this podcast. Had lunch with some friends, and straight up, like, she was just asking all the questions because we hadn't caught up with them since, and I loved it because I was like, we're not going to sit here in an awkward silence
Yeah,
and sip a cocktail. It's like, she was like asking her birth weight, like
yeah,
everything, and we love talking about
yeah,
it, so we did, and what else was there to sit there and talk about for 2 hours
yeah,
other than what the fuck just happened in our
yeah,
life?
yeah, yeah. And
you
people,
know?
I think people are a bit fearful of like bringing it up, and like for me, someone bringing up Liam isn't going to make me feel any shitter than I've already felt previously, or
Right.
it's not gonna push me further into a deeper hole. It makes me proud, that people want to talk to me about him, and I've got his footprint on
Oh,
my mum and his
I love
name and,
that.
and birthday, and people see that, and it makes me so so happy to say that, yeah, you know, that's his footprint. You know, he's got massive feet. He had massive feet and hands.
So did Millie.
Yeah, he had my feet and hands, and then had Beth's you know, small ears and button nose, and they're the things that, you know, you want to talk about. Like, I'm just like any other parent that wants to proudly, you know, talk about my child and everything like that. That, you know, I helped create. Like, well,
of course,
you know, why would we not? So what I would say as well is don't be afraid of offending, you know, your person, because or don't be afraid of upsetting them, because, mate, whatever question you're going to ask is not gonna you know, they're already in the pits of hell. So anything that you ask is not going to push them any further, really, I feel.
Yeah. I think people do get scared because, like, I know I've had people say at least, or, you know, and I'm like, you know, so, but I think asking questions is beautiful and fine and whatever, but no at least, or no,
exactly.
you know, there's no
any question that
do not justify anything.
Like, it's not, you know, it's not God's will that, you know, your child died, or anything that starts with at least, or at least she can fall pregnant,
or but,
like,
or this,
blah blah blah. Like, no, at least, like, and
we're not allowed to fall pregnant for 12 months. And I've had so many people be like, well, at least it gives you time to heal. I'm like, heal? I ain't fucking ever healing from this. Like,
exactly. Like, I'm never
my heart
over
is,
it, mate.
there's a
Like,
hole in my heart forever. Like, it's not going to be healed in 12 months.
My
Let me
child's
assure
dead,
you.
mate, you know? Like,
Yeah. My uterus scar might be healed, but my fucking self is not.
and it's
ever. And that's not me just being negative and being like, I'm never going to heal. Like, yeah, you learn to live with it better, whatever they say. But, like, don't tell me
I'll be... though. It's being real and being honest, you know? Like, not everything is clear cut and rainbows and butterflies and yada, yada, yada. Like, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to put a light on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, so...
Is there anything else that you would like to share that's on your heart?
Nothing, like, I don't know. No, nothing major that comes to mind. Do you have any questions?
I think the things that stand out for me that, like, I've taken away from this podcast is the time after something like this happens. Like, you know, it's not just the immediate thing, but, you know, months later, 6 months later, 12 months later, the grief is still there. And I think you have to keep working on it. The fact that you got turned away from 6 psychologists, but you didn't give up is amazing. Five. Yeah. Most people would have been up. Most men wouldn't even reach out for 1 or 2. Like, it's taken me months to get Dylan to even go to this first one. So I think that's amazing. I think, you know, the fact that you're creating a touch football team for bereaved men, the fact that you're opening your door saying, hey, I want to be interviewed, I want to talk to people, we need to speak up. Like, all of these things are super inspirational. And I think other men hopefully will take a leaf out of your book to be like, okay, my marriage is worth it, because I can see, you know, Dylan and I are really good, but I can see how marriages cannot be good from this. Very easily.
I agree, and, you know, it's very sad. You know, there's no other way to put it, but it's an incredibly hard thing to come back from. But you know, people do, and you can't give up, and you know, you can't give up on yourself, and you can't give up on your child either. You know. Like, for me, you know, Liam needs and deserves to be spoken about, and as do all our babies. You know, Milli, in your situation, and you know, every other bereaved parent that's watching. All our children need to be spoken about and fought for, because, you know, if we're not the ones doing it, then who else will? And and I completely understand and respect that not everyone wants to do this, and a lot more people are private. But
Yeah.
in my situation, I have it in me to want to speak, and if people want to, you know, feel like then that they resonate with me, then like that's great. Like I'm
Mm.
all for it, and yeah, I just Liam needs to be fought for. Um,
I smile every time you say his name. I just love it. I'm like,
yeah, it
oh, little Liam.
yeah, yeah. We talk about him. We talk about him a lot. Like, well, almost every day. There's not, and the thing is, there's not a day or a moment that I'm not thinking about him. Like, he would be 15 months old now. If he
Mm.
was alive, and I think about, this year, for example, I joined the Dolphins, the Redcliffe Dolphins, and I went to the first game, and um, that was one game that I just I should have been there with my son, and
Mm-hmm.
but obviously wasn't. But yeah, we're just like any other parent. We love
Yeah.
and are so proud of our kids. It's just the difference is that you know ours are ours 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 have died, but yeah, they still need to be spoken about and fought for. I feel.
Yeah. And I just think it's super healthy to be talking about it because, I picture you at the football and your
Mm,
son not being there and that just being in your head.
yeah,
And because I too have been, we went to the AFL
yeah,
last week and I'm walking around and I'm seeing all these women with babies in carriers.
yeah,
And in my head, I'm on repeat, it's going, my baby died. That lady doesn't know my baby died. Does she know what I'm
yeah,
going? Like your head is fucked going, look at all these people that are happy, their life's going on, da da da, my baby's not here.
yeah,
And they've probably not all happy and they've all got their own things going on. But I need to talk about this shit. Otherwise, it's just like this reel in my head.
yeah,
My baby died.
yeah, and you know, and what I would say is like if you feel like that, and you feel that your baby needs to be spoken for, find ways to do that. Like through all my things, I just sort of like, what's the worst thing that someone says to me? Like, if I approach X, Y, and Z podcast and say to them, I feel like my story needs to be spoken about and I'm prepared to speak it, and they say, nah,
Mm,
fuck, we're not interested, mate. Like, yeah, no worries, mate. That's not the worst thing
exactly.
that I've ever been through.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
in that sense, it's quite a freeing feeling being able to just do what you want, like in that regard, and
Yeah.
not having any fear in that sense.
And I love that because you wrote it on that post the other day. I don't know what I'd commented on something, and you just said, "Oh, I signed your
Yeah,
petition,"
yeah, yeah.
and actually, I'll if is it still live? Like
Yeah,
people
like,
can
and
still,
and the
yeah.
thing with the petition is, I'm not going to give up on it because I've had nearly 500 people sign it, and in terms of like to get a politician's attention, that's not enough, but those 500 people have signed it for a reason, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to fucking give up until until it gets to a point like where more people are paying attention, because I owe it to those people that have been through similar things to we have, and or worse, to speak for and to fight for. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. If people want me to fight for them, like, I'm all in. Like,
And I said it for someone the other, so a lady who's started a book, Life of Jack, little gift from Jack. I can't
yeah,
think of
she's
the Instagram.
her name's Emily. She's from Tasmania. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, she's a
So
lovely
she was
lady.
messaging me the other day, and she said, she said, "Oh, thanks so much. I won a package through them on Instagram," and she was like, "Thanks for sharing everything." She said, "I've got a new website coming. Would you share it when it comes?" Yes. And then she said, I think what you're doing is amazing with the podcast." And I said, when Millie first passed away, and I saw all these people doing all these amazing things
Yeah,
in honor of their child, I thought, what? How did they come up with all these things? But I said, it's almost like something from heaven just drops into your heart.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, this just dropped into my heart and it just organically happened and it's just happening. And it just is doing whatever it needs to
Yeah.
do. It's, I don't know what it is, but it's just conversations, right? But for you, I feel like these things are just dropping into your heart,
Yeah.
like to go start a petition to start a men's team, and you'll just keep doing all those things in honor of Liam. And
Yeah.
whether we do small things or big things, it doesn't matter. It's just whatever's helping us get through each day, and we're just helping, one or two people along the way.
Yeah, it's help from Jack.
Help from Jack, yeah.
But that's exactly what it is, and that's a perfect name. And help from Jack, like from her son Jack. And everyone, especially the people that I'm most protective of is like newly bereaved parents, and like in the similar sort of time frame as yourself, and like anywhere from between that 6 to 12 month, because for me it was brutal, and there's going to be people out there that feel even lower. And I was reading that article about the guy in WA that committed suicide, and I was just so upset, and felt a real sense of like helplessness for him and for his family and for his wife, and it just really upset me. But for other people, I'll fight till I can't fight anymore. And whatever sort of comes to mind, like whatever ideas come to mind, I'll just run with it, and some will work out, some won't. I don't really care, but
exactly.
I'm not going to give up.
Yeah. And so I'll get you to send me a link to whichever way, the petition, Touch Football for Guys in Brisbane, whatever it might be. But I feel like the things will just keep dropping into your heart, and you'll keep doing them in honor of Liam. And I know this is just the start for you guys. And if there's any way that people can reach out to you if they're in that first, stage of bereavement when it is so fucking hard, hopefully they'll reach out to you as well.
Yeah. And just like for me as well, it just gives me a sense of purpose too. And I think you really need that, something to get up for. And I've got work, and a loving wife and a loving dog and family and everything like that to fight for and get up for. But you need other things, and there's a fine line between trying to do too much and just doing the right amount. But
well, that's what everyone said to me, like, you started the podcast so quickly. I was like, I just needed to do something, and
but exactly, if that's what you needed to do for you, then good on you. Like, some people would just sit on that idea and be like, oh, I don't know, I'm a bit this and a bit that.
And I really have no idea what I'm doing. As soon as this ends and it downloads, I go,
works for them, then good luck.
I messaged my cousin, I can't upload it again. The file's not working.
Do we ever? Do we ever? Like, I don't know how
ask
the
Liam.
right politicians to approach or anything
Liam,
like
help
that.
me. We've got our own personal angels in heaven, guiding us. We are so lucky.
Yeah.
We are so lucky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I agree.
I know. It's a lot.
Yeah. But it's important, and hopefully more people feel comfortable. Like I've stuttered and limped and swore my way through people, but through this conversation, and lost my chain of thought multiple times. But you know what? It's real, and like it's honest. And
there's nothing.
For me, I don't care
nothing you've said today that would piss people off. I assure you.
That's who I am, and that's
No.
No, but like you know what I mean. Like,
no, I always when I upload the podcast, it always says explicit, and I always just put yes, because I know that I would have dropped a bunch of F-bombs somewhere in there anyway.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I did another podcast with a lady, and this really, burns because she has to mark her podcast as explicit based on the subject that you're speaking about. Like miscarriage and stillbirth and pregnancy
Yeah.
loss and everything like that. It's like, mate, this stuff happens to multiple
No.
people within our community every day. How is that explicit? And she's like, I never swear. I blink out the swearing if people do swear, and it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, and yeah. Oh, it's still, the time is still going. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Is it? Yeah, mine's still going in my top left hand corner. Yeah. Is it? We've covered a lot. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, likewise, you guys. And if Dylan ever wants to contact me, if he's ever in a really shitty space and doesn't know, who to reach out to, I'll send you my number, and you can contact me. No worries. Yeah, feels like I don't really like feel comfortable. Like, I don't know how to write sort of that third person. You know, it feels, it's a weird feeling to sort of write about yourself. Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, 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 yeah. I do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, sweet. Yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get you. But it's important. Like, I don't mind, because people need help, and um, if my experiences can help them, then I feel it's my duty, and it's an honor to be able to help people. And sometimes I'm not in a good headspace mentally and not able to help them, but you know when I am, I'll get to it and do my best to help them or push them in the right direction. And like, I'm far from cured and saved and everything like that. Like, I'm still battling my way through, my demons just like everyone else. No, no. And yeah, I kind of like, it's a weird sort of thing, I accept that I'm never going to see him alive again, but I don't accept the circumstances, and that, how he died, and I don't really feel like this should be happening. Yes, it was to an extent a freak accident, but the amount of money and medical intervention that is available in other things, it's like we've got to at least fight to make things better. Yeah, yeah, no, six babies a day stillborn in the country, and like, how is that possible? And like, there's two early neonatal deaths, like within the first 28 days of life, a day. Like, two's more than enough. So there was, one other family in the country that went through the same shit that we did on the 12th of June statistically, and like I just don't really think that that's yeah, I just don't think that that's good enough. Like, yeah, but you just got to keep fighting, I guess. Mm, yeah, yeah, yeah. No worries. I'll go to the next person. Anyway, yeah, you too. What? Yeah, yeah. What? Two. It cut out when I took my headphones out and started again. There's probably two lots of videos, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. How? What sort of? How quickly are you turning them around? Like, oh yeah. Oh, you're right. Right. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Fair enough. Hope you have a good trip too. Yeah. We we went to Bali for my birthday and our anniversary last year for a week, and I didn't really get excited until I had finished work that afternoon, like that morning. But you just it's a numb period at the moment. It's a fucking shit time. No, October. Oh yeah, 4 months. Yeah, yeah. Father's Day was sooner, and that was difficult. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Um. Yeah, we do. He's just not alive. Um, yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Sort of, we toss and turn about what's going to happen there, and we've been through a lot, and you need to be in a good you need to be in a good headspace to you know get on with that. But yeah, I'm 35 in a couple of weeks, and Beth's 37. Yeah, 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 and like fertility wise, we're not the oldest, but we're not getting any younger either. But it's all about what you can handle as well mentally, and if you everyone's limits different, and you get to everyone, yeah, you hit that period, then that's it. Hmm. Yeah, well, sh- she's deleted her social media and stuff like that. It's just too much head noise for her, and yeah, I kind of only got back on it sort of as the petition sort of started to kick off, and I just kind of pick and choose um, what I read, and sometimes you just you're you're blindsided or whatever by baby pregnancy announcement or whatever, but that's not that person's fault or anything like that. It's, you know you choose to take on you know yeah, 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 and yeah, that hate and that tension towards other people, it doesn't help. Doesn't help, and from speaking from my personal experiences, when I'm shitty at someone else for because they're pregnant and that, I'm the one that suffers the most. Yeah, so No. Anyway, yeah. I've bent all these puzzle pieces. I feel bad. They're all fucked. But, yeah. Well, there's a couple, but Beth understands that I'm very fidgety, and we'll we'll learn to live with it, I guess. No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Nice spot. Oh yeah, yeah. Worked down there a fair bit actually. Yeah, like I work for a stainless steel fabrication company, and we go down there occasionally, like a fair bit. Depends where the job is, but yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It's good on job site, like on job site. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. It's sort of we're both Beth's from Yamba and I'm from Sydney, and we've been up here. We've been up here 8 years, and like it's really only now that I've been working for this company that doing all the driving that I see way more of the the city like that and know my way around more. Uh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, good chat. Yeah, no worries. Mm. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, all right, we'll do. Thank you. See ya. Yeah.